Foreign ministers from the world's leading economies are meeting in London for their first face-to-face talks in more than 2 years. The G7 is expected to discuss new ways for the group to defend international rules. Our diplomatic correspondent James Landell is following the summit and says the ministers looked happy to be finally meeting in person.
There was all the usual sort of awkward elbow bumps that we're getting used to now, but they clearly we're looking forward to the fact they could talk face to face. That's why, everybody's come to these kind of meetings when they happen regularly. Sometimes people don't come, the ministers have got, other pressing engagements back home. But everybody's come, and also all the guests who've come. It's not just the G7, it's also foreign ministers from South Africa, South Korea, India, and places like that have all made the difference, simply because in this building now, there's pretty much 10, 11 hours, wall-to-wall meetings, sometimes collectively, sometimes individually, lots of bilaterals going on. They are doing an awful lot of sort of catch-up diplomatic business that they simply haven't had the chance to do on the endless kind of, video link calls that they and the rest of us have got used to over the last year or so.
And also, no doubt, China top of the agenda.
Yeah, that was the first topic they discussed this morning, spending an hour and a half on that. As ever, the calibration they've got to establish is how do they challenge China on the issues where there are disagreements, such as the humanitarian rights and the treatment of the Uyghurs, the treatment of pro-democracy campaigners in Hong Kong, but also on the other hand, how much do they engage with China over the issues they simply have to engage with, such as climate change, such as trade. These nations here know that if they are going to get a deal at the big UN summit, the COP26 summit later on this year, to cut emissions, they have to make sure that the biggest emitter in the world is cutting emissions too, and that's China. Equally, they want their economies plugged into China's economies and all the burgeoning markets taking place there. And that's a calibration. And not all the countries share the same vision. There are differences there. So it's a big issue, and it's a difficult one to finesse.